Hello everyone, Chief Canuck here with a recap of the two recent Hunt the Truth episodes, Episode 01 Hairline Fracture and Episode 02 Bad Records. My apologies for not recapping them sooner. I was busy with college, but both of these episodes are extremely similar and convey nearly the same information revolving around John 117's childhood. So let's get into the recap before the next episode airs. Just before the release of Episode 1, an image called The Assignment was posted. It was a message to Benjamin Giraud from Michael Sullivan. You may remember him as the kid from Forward Unto Dawn who hacked into Oni and discovered video footage of Spartans in battle. Sullivan is now a senior communications director for Oni. The message reveals that he tasked Giraud to find information about the Master Chief to put together a big campaign, granting Ben full access, exclusive interviews, the works, all for 120,000 credits. Episode 1, Hairline Fracture, was released alongside with two epic live-action Halo 5 trailers for Spartan Locke and Master Chief, which I've done an in-depth analysis on both of them, so if you want to check that out or you guys are interested in that, there will be a link to that as well in the description, as well as all of these audio logs. In this episode, Benjamin begins by recapping the Covenant attack on Earth, then moves his research to Eridanus 2, a planet in the Outer Colonies, which is John's birth planet, which was glassed in 2530. 19 years before the glassing, in 2511, John was born in Elysium City. His first interview was with Deon Govender, an interview set up by Oni. Now retired, Deon reportedly taught John when he was in primary school, but he was most excited to talk about John's athletic abilities, especially about the game King of the Hill, where kids would wrestle to be the last man standing on top of a hill, and apparently John always won. Deon also ran a boxing league, and one time John walked in 6th grade, so he was about 12 years old, wanting to box. John proceeded to demonstrate his athletic ability and destroyed his competition. Then one week, John didn't show up, reportedly around age 13. So this was in 2524, when John was 13, insurrectionist rebels reached John's community in Elysium City on Eridanus 2, and interrogations and abductions by these rebels became commonplace. Deon said that John and his parents were then scooped up. The second interview was with Ellie Bloom, who Ben found through his own contacts. Ellie was a childhood friend of John's and turns out to be the girl in the Halo 3 Starry Night trailer. Ellie said that she moved off-world while John was still young and didn't keep in touch, but she did keep in touch with a friend named Katrina who was also friends with John, who did stay on-world. She had no idea John turned out to be the Master Chief, and then proceeded to have a huge fangirl moment when she heard the news. Ben then interviewed Thomas Wu, who gave insight on the rebels. Thomas was from a neighboring colony, he recalled brutal conditions imposed by the rebels, but then said towards the end, the rebels just disappeared and left captives locked up and starving. Through Ben's research, he received many hard copies of records, and on one of them he found John's name, and next to it was the letter D. It was an official death record stating that at 2517, John died at 6 years old. An image of the death record was posted on the Hunt the Truth website within the following days, with John's last name redacted from the record. Now we're informed from Ben that records, people, eyewitness accounts are all hard to find and trust after a glassing, especially in the Outer Colonies. Before Episode 2 was posted, this famous photo of the Master Chief, circa Halo 2, was posted. This time we're told Benjamin is the credited photographer. Along with it, he posted the original image, the image with the UNSC and Oni notes, and the final product that we're all familiar with. You can tell from the notes that they wanted to de-emphasize the destruction and the scale of the Covenant invasion at New Mombasa, and at the same time paint the Chief as an almighty hero unscathed, a perfect example of UNSC and Oni propaganda. In Episode 2, Bad Records, we pick up right where we left off. Ben is in disbelief due to the death record he had uncovered, which indicates that John had died 41 years ago to the date of this recording, when John was only 6 years old. Confused, Ben called Oni to try and clear things up, and he called Michael Sullivan, who works for Oni Public Relations and gave Ben the assignment in the first place. Ben confronted Sully with the death record, who dismissed it immediately because it was from the Outer Colonies, the far reaches of space, and from a planet that was glassed, which poses a real problem for reliable record keeping. Ben then tells us about a man called Meshach Miradi, who is a conspiracy theorist that's been calling Ben every day for the past 2 months and leaving him messages, even though Ben never replies. He heard Ben was investigating the Master Chief, and Miradi had remarkable timing with his latest message, which he essentially tells Ben not to believe the government cover-up, and that Oni will of course disregard the records because the planet was glass. Miradi says that's what Oni wants you to believe. Sullivan arranged a face-to-face interview with Gabriella Dvorak, an Oni Vice Admiral. The interview got Ben off-world and on board the newest Autumn-class heavy cruiser, UNSC Unto the Breach, even though civilians aren't normally allowed on board a ship that's in active duty. Gabriella actually greeted Ben personally, and Ben was given lavish treatment, basically buttering Ben up. Gabriella recalled liberating the prisoners out of captivity on Eridanus II and Elysium City. She remembered John in particular, who was 13 at the time. She said everyone was sickly and looked dead, but John stuck out like a sore thumb, because what had broken everyone else didn't break John. In the aftermath, she worked with refugee camps and got to know John well. John eventually opened up and told her about his parents, and revealed that his parents didn't survive the captivity by the rebels. Ben then learned from Deon Govender that he remembered seeing John's parents' name on a memorial list, but not John's name. Deon still never saw John again, but said he would remain happy as long as John's name would not appear on the list of the dead. After the interview with Gabriella, Ben returned home, but then he was contacted by Ellie Bloom with a follow-up, saying that she had talked to her friend Katrina and now she was confused. Ellie had moved off the planet in 2517, but Katrina had stayed. She relayed the information that Katrina said that John had died when he was 6. John just withered away to nothing. Doctors couldn't explain it, and John's parents were freaking out. Ben then got in contact with Katrina, but she said she didn't want to be recorded. But she was adamant and recalled so many extensive details according to Ben. Ben wanted to disprove her, but he couldn't ignore her statements. Everything she recalled was so livid, and she went into such great detail. And according to Katrina, John's parents were also alive and well in Elysium City up until Katrina left the planet in 2528, 4 years after the reported death as stated by Gabriella. Along with this audio log, Katrina's diaries were posted. These diary entries were written when she was 7 years old. The first one was just a normal entry talking about a night out staring at the stars with John. The second diary entry was about John's death, proving that she was around when John died at age 6. And the most recent addition to the Hunt the Truth website was a photo of the aftermath of a glass planet, something we've never really seen before, and according to Ben, this particular photo was from a previous assignment and didn't make it past UNSC standards, and that's why it was never made public until now. At this point, Ben is truly confused by the conflicting reports. According to the interview set up by Oni, John was alive, but according to childhood friends Ellie and Katrina, they were adamant that John died at age 6. Now of course, we all know a different story, a story that Ben doesn't quite know about yet. At the age of 6, John was identified by Dr. Halsey as one of 150 candidates for the Spartan 2 program, due to his physical attributes and athletic abilities. Halsey and Jacob Keyes actually visited John in 2517, when he was 6, to study him, and they were impressed. Later that same year, John and 74 other children were, quote, recruited and sent to the planet Reach. But we all know they weren't necessarily recruited. They were actually kidnapped and replaced with Flash clones to cover up the kidnappings. However, these clones were not built to last, as they all die, seemingly of natural causes, very quickly. John's clone died December 7th, 2517, which is the John that his family, Katrina, and others saw die. So it appears Oni is meddling with Benjamin's research by setting up these interviews with inaccurate details to build up the heroic story of John, and talking to people who claim to have taught him to use boxing and freedom from captivity long after his Flash clone actually died, while the real John was training to become a Spartan. And when Ben does some research by himself, he finds out that these stories don't really match up with the reports he's getting from childhood friends. However, some details are similar. By the time he was kidnapped, he had reportedly a lot of King of the Hill victories, apparently 45 according to Halopedia, which coincides with Deon Governor's stories that John had always won as a kid. So there's some slight overlapping truth, kind of relaying John's victories but in a different time and place. In my opinion, it's extremely obvious that Oni is attempting to control the story Ben is writing. They're feeding him false information through fake interviews. They've told him that John's parents have died, which is perhaps an attempt to deter Ben from contacting them, and confirming the death at age 6. They're also telling Ben to disregard the hard copy death record, which could easily lead Ben in the direction of the morally gray area that was the practice of kidnapping children to become Spartans, which doesn't look all that good. And with that, that's the recap of the last 2 episodes of Hunt the Truth. What do you guys think of the Hunt the Truth story so far? What do you think Ben will uncover with the next installment this Sunday? Because according to Frank O'Connor, the next episode goes to a dark place. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already for more awesome Halo news and content. My name is Chief Canuck, and I'll see you guys next time.